Thank you. Well, it's always a pleasure to visit the Kurdistan region of Iraq because I'm able to see just how all the religious communities live in peace together, and they're able to practice their faith, they're able to have houses of worship. So the conditions here are wonderful for religious freedom, and it's always encouraging to see. Yeah, well, that's what's so encouraging about here is that the conditions are so much better than most places in the Middle East, including other parts of Iraq. The U.S. Commission, where you mentioned I serve as chair, although I'm traveling in my own capacity for this trip. But it's clear that there's religious freedom violations in the rest of Iraq and all through the Middle East and most of the countries that neighbor that border. And so that makes it even more impressive that the conditions here, and then I mentioned, as some of you know, in Northeast Syria also has excellent conditions. So there are places that we see these conditions, and I really appreciate how the government is working hard to try to ensure that those religious freedom conditions continue. Right, so it's really so many diverse religious communities live here in peace. They're able to register their houses of worship, they're able to participate, and it's important that the government and those here that are part of this environment really make sure that also these communities can participate in the economy and be a part of all parts of society. So it's important that everyone continue to ensure that these conditions continue. It was really encouraging to see the government do that. I really think that everyone should have a chance to be a part of their own, have a voice in their own governance, and it really has buy-in. And of course, the religious communities here have not, in Iraq in general, have really not been able to have that voice. So to see the Christians in Ankawa be able to have administrative control of the areas is encouraging. I'd love to see more of that throughout Iraq. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important that the U.S. government and the international community continue to provide support. This is a tough neighborhood. There's a lot of challenges. While the ISIS caliphate was destroyed, the ideology remains. There's still ISIS cells. There's still countries on our border that have some ideology that's dangerous. So it's important that the government continue to be vigilant. And I see that, all sorts of new programs to train young people to try to encourage a culture of tolerance. So I do think it's important that instead of just being comfortable with the conditions here, to continue to work to make sure that they stay this way, get better, and that, again, religious minorities can be a part of all society, can thrive, can build a future, can be a part of the economic. And it takes a lot of work to develop a community like this, and it's going to take a lot of work to continue it. And I do hope that civil society and the U.S. in particular stand strong with the people here and continue to work with them. It was very encouraging it was really encouraging to see the Pope visit and to see the entire country of Iraq be reminded of the importance of all the religious components. And I do think the Yazidi community in particular needs a lot of support to be able to go back to Sinjar. Sinjar should be a place that's safe for them. The international community should be developing it, should be helping to make it safe, pushing back the armed forces that are destabilizing the area. And of course, always concerned about the airstrikes from Turkey in that region. So I'm hopeful that Sinjar can at some point be a place for Yazidis to go back. I appreciate the fact that the Kurdistan Regional Government welcomed all of those fleeing ISIS here and provided support to them, and so glad that it continues. Absolutely. There's no doubt that what has been built here, that this is a really special place. Special, like, as I mentioned, you look at this neighborhood, it's really remarkable that all these faith communities can live together and thrive. And that's why it's so important that everyone the international community provide that support to the Kurdistan Regional Government to be able to have the resources they need to continue to support these communities, and that these communities are also able to thrive here. But it is definitely a special place. Thanks so much for having me.